I had been on the outer rim of the Velyrian cluster for almost 3 years, stationed as a communications officer on the human research vessel Aurora's Edge. Most days were monotonous, checking long-range scans, calibrating sensors, and occasionally running errands for the higher-ranking officers. It was quiet, predictable, and, most importantly, safe. Or at least it had been safe. Until the day the Queen of the Dyrathians arrived. The Dyrathian Empire was vast, ancient, and notoriously strict about hierarchy. Their queen, Lythra Solis, was legendary, not only for her strategic genius, but also for her strict adherence to protocol. Rumor had it that no outsider had ever been allowed within 20 meters of her without rigorous vetting. And yet, somehow, she appeared in our sector unannounced, accompanied by her fleet of sleek, black ships that shimmered like liquid shadows against the stars. The alarm went off hours before her landing, a shrill warning that rattled through the ship's corridors. I was in the communications bay when I received the first transmission from the Queen herself, a live link that froze everyone in place. Her visage appeared on the holographic display, tall, luminous, and commanding, with eyes that seemed to pierce straight through the deck plates and into our very souls. "Humans," she said, her voice melodious but tinged with authority, "we require your assistance. One officer will accompany me during the inspection of the perimeter defenses. He will prove invaluable." All heads turned toward me. I had no idea why she had singled me. I wasn't a captain, a strategist, or even particularly remarkable. I was simply there. The captain hesitated. "Your Majesty, protocol dictates that all Dyrathian interactions with humans are conducted under strict supervision. One officer cannot accompany the Queen unescorted." Lythra's gaze swept across the holographic panel like a comet tearing through the void. "Protocol may be ignored." That was the moment I realized my life had changed. By the time I met her in person, I was trembling. I had scrubbed and polished my uniform repeatedly, each time convinced it was still not good enough. The Queen descended from her ship in a chamber of soft, bioluminescent light, her presence commanding, yet strangely serene. Guards and attendants kept a strict distance, their eyes wary, their stances rigid. I, however, was allowed to approach freely. "Step forward, human," she said, and I obeyed instinctively, heart pounding. "You will accompany me," she continued, her eyes studying me as if she were scanning not only my form but my mind. "Do not fail me." "Yes, Your Majesty," I managed to reply. The walk through the corridors of her flagship was surreal. Each hallway was lined with crystalline structures that refracted light into shimmering rainbows across the walls. Each step I took echoed faintly, as if the ship itself were alive and aware of our passage. And the Queen, she walked beside me. Not ahead, not behind, beside. I felt the weight of that choice, the breach of protocol, like a gravitational force pressing down on my chest. The inspection itself was a test unlike any I had ever faced. She led me to the defensive arrays orbiting the nearby moon of Velyria 6, asking pointed questions about human strategy, sensor calibration, and energy shields. I answered carefully, aware that a single error could end in disaster. Not just for me, but for our crew. "What is your assessment of our vulnerabilities?" she asked, tilting her head. Her hair shimmered in the light, a cascade of silver and violet hues, moving like liquid silk. I hesitated. "Your flanks are strong, Your Majesty, but the sensor grid has blind spots near the asteroid belt. If an enemy fleet exploited those gaps," I trailed off, realizing I was speaking too freely. Her eyes softened, but only slightly. "Continue." I took a deep breath and outlined a strategy that leveraged human unpredictability. It was risky, unorthodox, and relied on improvisation rather than rigid planning. something the Dirathians were not accustomed to. When I finished, she was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, a smile flickering across her otherwise serene face. "You are different. Most humans would have hesitated, ignored the details, or been paralyzed by fear. You," she paused, studying me closely, "adapt. You improvise. That is admirable." Her words made my chest swell. The Queen of the Dirathians, the most powerful being I had ever encountered, had just complimented me. The real test came later, during a surprise attack on the perimeter by a rogue fleet of mercenaries from the Zethari Dominion. Our sensors detected the fleet only minutes before they breached the outer shields. Panic rippled through the human crew, while the Dirathian guards readied themselves in strict formation. The Queen turned to me. "You will lead the first countermeasures. Your intuition will guide us." My mouth went dry. I'm not trained for combat command, Your Majesty." "You will be trained by necessity," she said, her voice leaving no room for argument. "Follow your instincts. I will observe." I swallowed hard and activated the tactical console. Alerts, schematics, and targeting data appeared before me in a blur of information. I relied on instinct, drawing on every simulation, every training drill, and every human tactic I had learned over the years. The first wave of Zethari ships breached the outer defense. I coordinated intercepts using irregular patterns, feints, and unpredictable maneuvers, tactics that human officers favored but alien strategists rarely employed. The Dirathian fleet adjusted cautiously, following my lead. Throughout the chaos, the Queen remained by my side, not directing, not commanding, simply observing. Occasionally, she leaned closer, whispering advice or correcting minor errors. Each word, each gesture, reinforced a bond that transcended protocol. Hours passed. The battle was brutal, the mercenary fleet relentless. Yet through a combination of human intuition and Dirathian precision, we repelled the attack. The rogue ships disengaged, leaving the perimeter intact. When the last enemy vessel vanished into hyperspace, the Queen turned to me. Her expression was unreadable, a mask of calm and authority. Then, slowly, a smile appeared. "You survived," she said, "and you acted as I had hoped. Human ingenuity is indeed formidable." I exhaled, unable to form words, still processing the magnitude of her praise. In the days that followed, my life became an endless sequence of meetings, strategy sessions, and joint operations with the Queen herself. Her choice to ignore protocol, allowing a human officer to walk beside her, speak freely, and act decisively, was unprecedented. I learned more in those weeks than I had in years of training. Alien psychology, interstellar tactics, diplomacy under pressure, and the subtle nuances of leadership at a galactic scale. Our relationship, professional though it remained, was unique. She trusted me in ways no one else had been allowed to earn. I was no longer just a soldier on a fringe colony. I was a human whose judgment mattered to the ruler of an empire. Months later, as I watched her flee depart for a distant system, I reflected on what had happened. One moment, a single decision to allow me to stand beside her, breaking centuries of protocol, had changed my life. It had given humanity a foothold in alien politics, taught me lessons about courage, trust, and intuition, and forged a bond with a being whose power was beyond imagination. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and dangerous. But in that moment, I understood something fundamental. Sometimes, the right choice is not about rules or expectations. It's about seeing potential where others see weakness, and acting with courage when no one else will. And the Queen of the Dirathians, in her infinite wisdom, had seen something in me that no one else had. One decision, one moment, one human beside a queen who ignored everything she had been taught, and in doing so, change the course of both our lives forever.